And the reserves mom.
Hi, this is Cassidy Robertson, and this is my audience.
7 years. I was active
Two. Hi.
Okay.
Alright. So, today I'm going to talk to you about the dark side of exotic bird trading. I'm sure a lot of you see the birds in pet stores and don't think much of it. You know, I didn't know anything about the problems with the exotic bird trading until I actually owned my first parrot. I'm also going to talk to you about things that fuel the exotic pet trade, and finally how to put an end to the exploitation of these beautiful birds. So let's get started with talking about exactly what the exotic bird trade is and why it's so harmful to the parrot species in the wild. First of all, they pluck them right from the wild. I mean, they catch them on the ground with nets, or they'll set nets up at the beginning of their nest holes in trees. They even pluck little bitty baby birds from the nest, right from their nest. And unfortunately, the mortality rate for these birds is 60%. So the trappers actually catch 4 times the amount of birds that they really need, just so that they can get a profit off of them. The death rate comes from the really bad transportation. And 1/3 of the world's 330 parrot species, or exotic bird species, are actually threatened or endangered to be extinct because of the exotic trade and the loss of habitat. Another thing they'll do is cut down trees just to get to their nest in the top of the trees. So even if they live through the deplorable transportation, a lot of them are, you know, well, when they're sold, they're ignored. Once people get bored of them in a couple of months, they're left in a corner to be deprived. So why would this be right for any animal? It's awful to think that, you know, there's these beautiful birds plucked right from the wild, right from freedom, tortured, and then ignored. So with that said, what exactly is creating the problem, and what's fueling this problem? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but there's no simple answer to it. A lot of it is us. It's greed. $10 to $20 billion a year is made off of this trade. That's equal to drug trafficking. So when you think about that number of money made per year, there's a lot of corruption. And with corruption, there's bribery, power, and politics. And there's a lot of laws that have been stopped from stopping this corruption because of that bribery, power, and corruption. There's a lack of enforcement. The international and local laws are often not enforced at all. And since they're not enforced, who cares? Why not do it? So a lot of people, if they are caught, it's usually just a small monetary fee. And that's it, slap on the wrist, if anything at all. A lot of people think captive breeding will fix the problem, but actually it does the complete opposite. It makes it worse. Captive breeding is extremely expensive, so people want the wild caught. They're cheaper. And on top of that, it makes them more popular. For instance, the yellow-headed Amazon, it's widely available in captivity, but 90% of them in the wild have been they're gone. 90% in a matter of a short period of time are gone in the wild. So it increases the popularity, it increases the demand, in turn makes the problem worse. So if I told you that you could make a difference in these little birdies' lives, real simple things that we could do, would you be interested?
Absolutely.
Why is it okay for the corruption to continue to stop appropriate laws from protecting them, but it's not okay for other species? There's so many other species that we protect with very strict laws, but not these exotic birds. So with that said, there's many things that we can do as an individual to stop, number one, encouraging the breeders, and two, the capture of the exotics in the wild. There's a lot of, like I said, laws in states and countries to protect the birds from being smuggled and poached. And one in particular is CITES. It's the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species. It protects the commercial trading of exotic animals. And another one is Wild Bird Conservation Act, and it protects them from being imported. The best thing we can do is, the most effective thing we can do is stop the importing. If you stop the importing, there's no demand. It's nowhere for them to go. They can't make the money. So restrictions to change and strengthen the import laws are really easy actually to be a part of. BornFreeUSA.org has it all laid out for you. If you don't want to write your own letter, it's all pre-written. You can just sign your name and send it right to legislation. They have a whole lot of different forms set up for you to send letters to places like Petco and PetSmart. They sell the birds to encourage them to stop selling the birds. PetSmart was supposed to stop selling birds. You may have noticed a lot of them kind of go down to just the little parakeets now. But they still do all over the country. There are a lot of stores that still sell them. So some little things that we can do on an individual basis, simple to do: never buy a bird. Never buy a bird from a pet store or a breeder. It encourages the exotic trade. Only adopt them. There are thousands and thousands of sanctuaries and rescues all over the U.S. alone that are over capacity. Also, report any abuse and neglect that you may see. Again, ask Petco, PetSmart not to sell these birds. And above all else, to decrease demand and promote preservation of the birds in the wild. So these are all things that we can do. It may sound like a lot, but they're really small steps that can make a big difference. We can be a part of lawmaking just by filling out these pre-written letters. So picture this: you're taking a trip and you see these beautiful birds in the wild in their natural habitat. Wouldn't you rather see that as a trip to promote and spend money towards preserving their natural habitat than seeing them behind behind bars? I mean, I would. So in conclusion, I hope you all can see that the exotic bird trade has to stop. We're going to end up down the road, our children are not going to have these parrots around, these birds around for them to see, to enjoy. And thank you for coming.
Yay! 30